I was born and grew up in a small town in northern Minnesota. I lived in this town all my life and had rarely left the area. I knew the area quite well, and I and many other people had seen some weird and creepy things in this area. Multiple people had Bigfoot encounters in the area and other paranormal activity, but this event was different from all the other ones. There weren't many police in my town because nothing really happened. Sometimes somebody's kid would steal something from a local store and the police would be called down just to teach the kid a lesson. But now as I think back to the events that unfolded, that every town must have had at least one crime. Is a crime bad enough to make news across the state? The one from my town did not make state news, and I didn't even know if the neighboring towns knew about this incident either. This event was kept to our town, and I don't know why. I think everybody was just too scared to tell, in case they were deemed crazy or something like that. This event happened in the middle of November. I can't remember the date. It was in 2014, and I started with a 16-year-old girl going missing. In the early morning hours, there was a frantic call from the mother who said that her daughter had gone into the woods to relax and go for a walk, and that she hadn't come back. She said that her daughter would often be out in the woods until late, around about 9 p.m. Her mom first thought that her daughter must have just been running a bit late. At around 10 p.m., her mom said that she went out into the trails to look to see if she'd been hurt. She couldn't find her, but she only spent around 45 minutes in the woods. She then told us that she called her ex-husband, who lived in town, and they were on good terms, so he went out into the woods and they looked for her together. Around another hour and a half, and they went back to the house, and then they called the police. The station immediately sent out 2 officers, and I was one of them. We arrived at the house around 12:30 a.m. We knocked on the door, and the mother and the girl's father opened it. They explained to us all the information that I've just told you. Me and the other officer then went out into the woods, and the mother showed me where her daughter would usually walk. We looked and could find some footprints, but then all of a sudden, the footprints just suddenly ended, and we couldn't find any more trace of her on those trails. We couldn't find anything, and we were just about to call for backup, so the backup could bring some search and rescue dogs. But then as I began to reach for my walkie, I heard a sound. It sounded like a very deep growl, but it almost sounded like whatever was making that sound was trying to talk. We all immediately stopped and looked around. Then at the distance, I saw something large and standing on 2 legs. I just stood there and just stared at that thing that was standing in the distance. It was a large, tall shadow, and it looked somewhat human, but the shape wasn't very clearly defined. Eventually, we were all just standing there looking at it. Then it made that growl again, and then disappeared. We then turned around back towards the way out of the woods, and we never saw that creature again as we exited. We never did call for backup, and we knew that we were never going to get to that girl. I've never seen that creature again, and I don't think anyone else has ever told about the event, not even the neighbors. And shortly after that incident, I moved out of town. I'm in a larger city, and I've never spoken to anyone about that incident before.